morning, friends. It's Nancy. We're back to do a little more cleanup. But first I want to show you what I got at an auction the other day, an online auction. What I thought I was bidding on was some old letters. And sure enough, that's what I got. But there was also these two notebooks. And I was so excited because I had no idea they were in there. I did see this one in the photo, but I didn't know what it meant. It's in German. But this is a midwife student's casebook. So it has all of her handwritten notes about births that she attended. Some of them were district births, like called midwife. So they were births at home. And some of them were in the hospital. So I was just so excited by this. I spent the night reading the whole thing the other day. These date to 1953, 52, 53 in there. And this one is mostly blank, but again, it's a notebook for midwife. So there's only, I think, 9 births recorded in this one, but and of course I can't read it. So I did some research online about the student, and what I learned was that Francisca was born in 1926 in a little village, a little Catholic village in Germany called Reken, Recken, I guess. I'm not sure how it would be pronounced. And she left there at some point and went to Aberdeen, Scotland to study midwifery. And she met a doctor there who was studying medicine at the University of Aberdeen, and they married. And I read in some messages that were written on her funeral page. You know, sometimes funeral homes will have like a guest book that you can type in memories or what have you, from I believe a niece who talked about how much she admired her aunt, because her aunt left this narrow-minded little community and forged her way forward and accomplished things that were completely outside of what was traditionally acceptable in her community. So her husband, the doctor that she married, was actually from Trinidad. He was a black man, and he went to Aberdeen to study medicine. They married and moved to Canada at some point. I saw, well, some of the addresses were local, so there's that, but he definitely was still practicing medicine at the local hospital in Cambridge. Anyway, the niece really appreciated her aunt because it gave her the courage to step outside of what her social community, what her community was considered acceptable for her, and gave her the courage to follow her aunt's example and make some life choices herself that were, I mean, not acceptable in today's sort of milieu, but at that time not. Anyway, so that was really interesting, and I enjoyed reading that. So there there was a letter here to the doctor, and it's dated 1955. And at that time, Franziska would have been back in Germany. And these are German postage stamps. So this was probably a letter from her. Oh, it is, yeah. It says, it says Absender, F. Nottleman. But it was found open and had been taped closed like that by the Royal Mail. So that's kind of neat. And there was a couple of big envelopes from Trinidad. This was in the book. And this is a pen drawing. And it's signed Renata. I have no idea. Something. In Wine is Truth. Aberdeen, 1953. Dear Margaret, dear something, and dear Aunt Clara. So this was a letter she was writing home but never finished or never sent. There's some more Trinidad stamps. The piece I made yesterday that had the W on it, I used the envelope that this letter was in to make the background for that envelope, for the tucky spot that I made. Just looking to see if it's handy, so I don't sound like a crazy person. Oh, I guess I'm gonna have to remain crazy sounding. Oh, there it is. So this letter was in here. I actually tore that letter, the front part of the letter, in 3 pieces so that I could layer over the address. Because what I wanted was stripes, the airmail sticker, and the stamps. I didn't want her address and name. Anyway, so this is on airmail paper. I'll probably use it in something. It's just a letter from somebody in Germany. These I'll probably keep just to take the stickers and stuff off, and stamps. There was a few little cards. Some postcards. These ones were, they feel like that pulpy paper, but they're a postcard. And they're all Van Gogh pictures. But these ones are to a soldier and a sailor, and they're all by the name of Oliver. So they date from the 40s to the 60s. So he was, this Oliver was a soldier, and he ends up in the Casualty Retraining Center in British Columbia at some point. And then in 1943. And then the other one was a sailor. Ordinary sailor. And he was on the Assiniboine in Nova Scotia. So that's a decommissioned warship. This is in 1960. So a lot of these are from his brother. So here's his brother at Camp Borden, which isn't too far from here. This is 1943. This is just the front of an envelope. I'll use that in some collage. So I think I did okay. I got some good stuff, especially these two notebooks. I'm gonna enjoy those. So I had this bucket full of Christmas scraps. Whoop. And I thought, oh, well, we'll deal with those today. I found a hanky in there too. One of my goals this weekend is to get one of my 5 Rubbermaid tubs of linen sorted through and keep what I'm going to use and get rid of what I'm not. So long strips of fabric, I've been winding around this piece of card. Some of the other pieces I'm going to cut up into squares, because just for storage purposes. I just find squares easy to use, and I can grab them. And so I like 2.5-inch squares, but sometimes they have to be 2-inch squares, unfortunately, because there's just not enough. Not enough meat on the bone. And some of these other pieces that are neither 2 inches nor 2.5 inches, I think I'm going to tear them up and sew them together in a snippet roll. So that kind of catches it. What else? Oh yeah, I also, this morning, I put my tea-dyed junk mail envelopes into my book press so that they'd be nice and flat. So maybe tomorrow we'll do some envelope projects. No sense in just storing them. So let me work on this for a bit, and I will come back and show you what I've come up with. Okay, let me bring you up to speed on where I am. So any of the strips that were longer than 11 inches, I wrapped around this board. And there's probably, I don't know, 4 layers. I just kept wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. Anything that was between, well, then I divided the strips up into anything that was more than 9 inches, between 7 and 9, between 5 and 7, and then littler scraps. So the littler pieces I have sewn together. This is I think this is between 3 and 5, or maybe it's 5, I don't know. So the pieces that had like sizes, okay, so this would be 5 inches. I have sewn them together, and then I pressed them and added some starch so that they are pretty stiff. And then I'm going to cut them into thinner strips and sew them end to end to make a snippet roll. And yeah, so let me do that. So this bucket, or tub, whatever you want to call it, this was full of those scraps, and I have now reduced it to just this thin cardboard wrapped with fabric. 2 fabric snippet rolls. This one was, I cut everything down to 2 inches, and it's about 7 yards long, and this one is about an inch an inch and 5/8, and I was only able to get a couple of squares. So that has certainly reduced my Christmas fabric stash anyway. All right, let me put these where they belong. I do have special boxes just for my fabrics because I love using fabric. And then we'll come back and we'll start working on the next cleanup project. And before I forget, I gotta add a little more to the treasure chest. Getting pretty full. And since I've been working on textiles, I've just got a couple of little pieces of lace. These are hand crocheted. They're tiny little motifs. And I thought those would be perfect to decorate something. So I'll just tuck those in there. All right. I got this box of recipe cards. Let me zoom out a bit. For $1.99 at a thrift store. I want to keep the box to store things like fussy cuts and stuff like that. So I'm just going to take these cards out. There's some nice cardstock in there. These don't look like they've ever even been looked at. There is absolutely no wear or tear on these at all. And the fact that they still have these big hunks of chipboard in between each section tells me that. Okay, so I'm just putting those there for now because I need to clean this up. It's filthy. But see how it has a little divider there? That'll help keep things standing up and separate. All right, on to the next thing. So I have this like luncheon size tablecloth, and it's embroidered on all four corners as well as the center. And it's a very heavy fabric. It's like almost like sacking. So there's lots of really nice embroidery on here that's going to waste. Nobody's enjoying it. So what I did first was I cut off all of the hand crocheted trim. So I've got, 4.5 yards of lace now. So I'm just going to set that aside. And I want to use, if I can't use all of it, and I know I can't, I do want to use some of it. So what I'm going to do is make a soft covered journal. The first step, of course, is going to be making this smooth as possible. So I need to go down and do some more ironing. And I will use a big envelope as the backing for this project. Now I have used soft cover. I have made soft cover journals before, and I'll see if I can find my last one, and I'll link it down below so you can have a look at that as well. It's probably almost 2 years old though, and yeah, I don't think we're going to get started on the project in this video, but we will start fresh with the next one. Okay, you take care. We'll talk again soon.